It was a quiet morning at Maplewood Park, the kind of serene dawn where the world feels paused. But then, a faint whimper cut through the silence. A newborn, wrapped in a thin blanket, lay abandoned on a bench, shivering in the cold. Passers-by gasped, unsure how to react. Just when hope seemed fragile, a scruffy golden retriever appeared, sniffing cautiously, tail wagging, as if sensing the child's vulnerability. The dog nudged the baby gently, then ran to alert a nearby jogger. What happened next would shock everyone and change the fate of a life that no one expected to save. The morning mist clung to the grass, droplets sparkling under the early sun. Emma, a young mother, had made a choice she thought she couldn't reverse. She had left her newborn, swaddled in a thin, pale blanket, atop a park bench, believing someone would find the child before harm could come. Heart racing, she turned and walked away, tears blurring her vision. Minutes later, Mr. Carlson, an elderly man walking his dog along the park path, noticed something unusual. His golden retriever, Max, tugged insistently on the leash, barking softly but urgently toward a bench near the playground. At first, he thought it was a squirrel or stray cat, but the sound of faint crying froze him. Max didn't stop. He circled the bench, sniffing intently. When Mr. Carlson looked closer, he saw the tiny face peeking from the blanket, lips quivering, eyes barely open. "Oh my goodness," he whispered, heart pounding. Kneeling, he gently lifted the baby into his arms while Max nudged his hand, whining softly, as if reassuring him. Soon, a crowd began to gather, morning walkers, joggers, and parents dropping their children at the nearby playground. Someone called emergency services, their voice shaky. The dispatcher's calm instructions guided Mr. Carlson to keep the baby warm, to wrap him in a spare coat until paramedics arrived. Max remained by their side, refusing to leave, tail wagging but alert, ears flicking toward every approaching figure. Paramedics arrived, eyes widening at the scene. They praised Max's instincts as they checked the baby. He was cold and hungry but unharmed, thanks to the dog's intervention. Social workers arrived moments later, ensuring the child's safety while police tried to trace the mother. Witnesses described Emma's panicked retreat, giving authorities leads to follow. What stunned everyone, however, was the bond between the baby and Max. The dog refused to leave, licking tiny fingers and nudging the infant closer to warmth. Photographs taken by onlookers went viral, a golden retriever guarding a newborn, the sunlight glinting off his coat, the baby's tiny eyes looking up in trust. News crews covered the story within hours. Hero dog saves abandoned baby in Maplewood Park. The headlines read. Social media exploded with comments about Max's bravery and the emotional rescue. Thousands moved by the simple loyalty of an animal that acted when humans hesitated. Days later, Emma was located. She was a young mother, overwhelmed by circumstances, overwhelmed by fear, and unsure of where to turn. The community didn't judge. Instead, they shared a collective sigh of relief that her child had survived, and that Max had been there at the right moment. Emma tearfully thanked the volunteers and hugged Max, her tears soaking into his golden fur. The baby, named Oliver by the foster family, would grow up hearing the story of the dog who saved him. Max, now celebrated in local papers and news broadcasts, remained the gentle guardian of the park, his heroism remembered by every witness. What started as a desperate act of fear ended as a story of hope, compassion, and the unspoken bond between humans and animals that can change lives in an instant.